So happy to have the opportunity right now to talk to you about one of the greatest stories of the 20th century, even if it is a little underappreciated for its simplicity. The story Cat in the Rain by famous author Ernest Hemingway. He wrote it in 1925. This was pretty early on in his career. One of the most fascinating things about this story is how it takes something profoundly simple, a woman just wanting a cat, and turns it into a commentary on the marriage between these two people and whether they're ever actually going to be able to be happy. One of the primary elements of discussion in this story is not necessarily the cat or the wife or the husband, or even where they are in Italy on vacation, but just simply the question of who is the villain of this story. There are multiple interpretations of how we could go about determining who is the villain in this story. Not every story necessarily has to have a villain, but a lot of times you are going to get one, and in this story it's a big question. Some people suggest that the husband, in fact, is the bad guy in this story. The thing that would make him the bad guy is relatively self-evident upon reading the story. He doesn't really seem to, give much of a darn about whether his wife is happy. He ignores her. He just sits there and reads through the whole story. Even the spot early on when it seems like he's going to be helpful by saying that, no, I'll do it, I'll go down and get the cat, he doesn't actually get up. It says the husband went on reading, lying propped up with the two pillows at the foot of the bed. So even when he seems to offer to help his wife, he doesn't actually make any effort to do so. Additionally, later on in the story, it could be claimed that he is somewhat controlling, because the wife very adamantly requests that she wants silver, she wants different things in her life, that she wants her hair to be long, and he suggests that he doesn't really want her to change her hair, saying basically that he likes it the way it is. Some people have taken this to be that he is in control of his wife and doesn't give her the adequate freedom needed to recognize happiness in her own life, and that's why she's so displeased and wants the cat. Another thing against him is that the harshest thing said in the story is shut up, because he does tell his wife to shut up later on in the story when he says shut up and find something to read, when she's busy requesting that he provide her with all sorts of other material possessions. So these are the things against the husband that make it seem like he's the one who's the antagonist in this story. He's the one who's causing the problems. Conversely, there are those who argue that it is the wife who is actually the true villain of this story, whereas she's the one who's clearly unhappy with the events of the day and perhaps the events of her greater life. She does tend to whine about it an awful lot, and that maybe she is really the problem. That her husband, he's able to be here on a rainy day and find satisfaction just from reading a book, whereas she, isn't able to be self-contained. She's not able to just be happy sitting there reading or being thoughtful or even just watching the beautiful rainstorm outside. She needs things. She wants a cat to make her life more complete. She wants all sorts of other things. She wants to grow her hair out. She wants her hair clipped, in a different way. She also wants to have the ability to have various silver and other things. She wants to eat at her own table. She wants candles. She wants to be spring. She wants to brush her hair out. She wants a kitty. She wants new clothes. All of these things are symbolic of her material desire, and that this sort of materialism within herself is the true evil of the story. So that would make her the villain, not the husband. Another thing about this is how she represents the difference in a person between internal and external happiness. That's a major theme of this piece of work, because she's not able to necessarily be happy just within herself. She does need to seek external means to find happiness. External means would include things like a cat, or, just having her hair cut differently. It's just the idea that she's not necessarily able to be happy on her own. Another thing that would make the wife a possible villain in this story is the fact that she seems to fetishize the padrone, the doorman of the story, who takes care of her, provides for her. He likes the way he looks. He likes how he makes her feel small. All of these are the types of things that maybe make it seem that she's not as faithful to her husband as maybe she should be in mind. Not that she's necessarily acting on this lust or feeling that she has for another man, but just the fact that it is there, and the fact that she finds this tenderness in this other man shows that maybe she doesn't have her eye on the ball of her own relationship. So those are a couple of the primary issues in this story. Other things that provide some primary things are the doorman himself. Is he actually trying to flirt with the wife, or perhaps more likely, he's just doing his job? So that's another thing. Another sort of extremely controversial issue in regards to this story is the nature of the husband. He does seem to be somebody who can find happiness internally as opposed to his wife, but there is the curious issue that his wife wants to grow her hair out, a sign of femininity, and he doesn't want that. You know, for example, the wife says, I get so tired of it about her hair. She says, don't you think it would be a good idea if I let my hair grow out? She asked, looking at her profile again. George looked up and saw the back of her neck, clipped close like a boy's. I like it the way he is, he says. I get so tired of it, she said. I get so tired of looking at a boy. George shifted his position in the bed. He hadn't looked away from her since she started to speak. You look pretty darn nice, he said. Some critics over the last 90-plus years have suggested that this is proof that the husband in the story, in fact, isn't terribly interested in women after all. This is a very debatable piece of criticism, and there might be nothing to it, but it has been suggested that perhaps George in the story doesn't seem attentive to his wife's needs because he isn't very interested in women. This is just the type of thing that's possible out there when you look at a text very closely and you try to analyze it and you try to see what's there. Another big thing in this story is that Hemingway potentially was criticizing the American mentality as a whole. Here you have two Americans in a hotel. They are the only two Americans in this hotel. And one of them just wants to sit there and do nothing, and the other one is seemingly greedy and wants things. She's very interested in material possessions, and this has been seen as a commentary on America. Americans are unhappy, they don't like to do things, and they're greedy. So that's another thing. But none of that gets to one of the primary means of interpretive possibility in this story. This incredibly short story, just a few pages long, has all this stuff in it. But the largest issue in the story is the question of the cat. What does the cat represent? Some people say the cat represents her unhappiness, and she wants to achieve the cat so that she will no longer be unhappy. Another possible interpretation of the cat is that the cat actually represents a baby, and that when she tells her cat that she wants a baby, or wants a cat rather, it's just that she's actually trying to say that she wants a baby, that she wants that in her life. And then he seems like he's going to get up, he offers to, do it to try to get it for her, but he doesn't actually do anything, meaning that maybe this isn't going to work out for her, especially if you take the interpretation that he's not necessarily interested in such things. So, at the end of the story, the padrone arranges for a cat to be brought. But whereas earlier this cat was described as a kitty, now it's described as a big tortoiseshell cat. So the question comes up, is it the same cat that she had wanted earlier in the story? On one hand, if it is the same cat, then maybe it's all going to work out for the wife. Maybe she's going to be able to be happy after all, and everything's going to work out. But if it's not the same cat, if it's a different cat, maybe that means that even if She thinks that she's going to find happiness. She's not actually going to find it. And even the things that she believes are going to bring it to her, such as a cat, in fact, aren't going to quite hit the mark. So in that case, if it's a different cat, it might all just be hopeless for the American wife. So those are some of the key issues of the story Cat in the Rain by Ernest Hemingway. As you've noticed, there are lots of different possibilities. The story is very simple, but it's also not clear-cut. And that's one of the beautiful things about literature, that we have options. There are possibilities. It's not a math problem. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's something where you're given a bunch of work and it's ambiguous. You are the one who has to strive to come up with your own interpretation. Once you come up with an interpretation, then you seek textual evidence to back it up, just like in a court case. You find out what position you want to take, and then you try to support it.